Not sure that's how it goes.
We missed him earlier in the week. We always miss him. A day without Sean Salisbury is a day without sunshine. That's what I say.
That's what everybody says.
All the time around the halls. Joining us right now from, I believe, Houston, Texas. The one, the only Sean. Hello, Sean. Good morning.
Good morning. Yes, I'm in Houston. I was in Florida doing some business and doing my show from there in West Palm, but I'm back. And yes, I'm not sure everybody would agree with your sentiment that it's basically a ray of sunshine being around me every day. So I would imagine that's probably not true. So other than that, life's good.
I can speak. There's been a day or two. Look, everybody has bad days. There's been a couple days where
a day or 200,000. Yeah, you bet.
Well, if you were in Florida in April, you could have gone on. I'm trying to get on the Summer of '99 cruise featuring a reunited Creed, Three Doors Down, and many other bands of the '90s. We could have gone and had a good time, Sean.
No doubt. I'm with you 100%. Let me ask you guys, what's the best music decade?
That's a great question.
I think it's when you grew up, right? Like the point of like for me, I'm leaning 80s, but other people wouldn't say that.
See, for me, it's the
or 70s.
For me, it's the 60s.
Oh, really?
And honestly, if I can cheat here, Sean, give me 1965 to 1975, and I'll put that up against. You give me the Beatles in their prime, the Stones, the Who, Ozzy Osbourne. I don't know why I threw him in there. Creedence. Like, to me, that
CCR.
Yeah. What do you say?
Yeah.
Yep. I'm mid 60s to, because you grow up obviously listening to what your parents love too, right? When you're young and you don't know, you just hear it. Mid 60s to early to mid 80s.
Yeah.
I think that there's still some really good 80s music. If you had to choose a full decade, it's the 70s. I think if you were just saying. You can't take part of one decade and part of the other. I would say 70s, but if you give me combine, Dave, I'm with you. I go the 60s, mid 60s through the 70s, but I would like to add there's some music in the 80s that I really like. But that decade and a half to 2 decades there to me, even if you didn't like the music, if you're just talking about classic bands and not only the British bands, but some of the single acts and Elvis Presley, all that stuff that we know about. I would say that I'm a Led Zeppelin guy. So yeah, that to me was almost, that's like having like 25 quarterbacks that were all Hall of Famers, right? It was pretty good. So yeah, just curious, man. Yeah. I like that. I like that era.
Well, just one follow-up on that really fast, Sean. So you're down there, Astros, obviously you're going, we've talked to you about them. If you had one plate appearance in this series, what's your walk-up song?
Oh, probably, I got a lot of them, but it might be Back in Black might be one of them.
Nice.
With AC/DC. Yeah. Gosh, I'll tell you this, make it easy on you. It would probably be, now if I was into my feels, I'd throw Keith Sweat or Barry White or Al Green on it. If I was feeling, like, hey, I'm feeling pretty good about this. Romantic getting home to the wife, it would be a 70s rock and roll walk up, probably 60s, 70s, but an AC/DC cut. You know what I like? I also like Shook Me All Night Long too. To me, that's anything with that. That beat would probably, and if you're just going for just the lead in, and I know this is kind of tame, but I love the prelude in Hotel California. I do. But that you got to have something a little more banging than that. We're not being in the on deck circle is not romantic. You got to have something that pumps you up. So it would probably be an AC/DC cut for that, probably.
Put a Little Love in Your Heart by what was that? Al Green and Annie Lennox.
Damn right. Maybe a Captain and Tennille. You never know.
Peaches and Herb.
Yeah, Peaches and Herb. That's right.
Peebo Bryson.
Yes.
Well, if you're going Peebo Bryson, you have to add a duet because he's like the all-time duet guy. Peebo Bryson, Regina Bell.
Yes.
Peebo Bryson, Sean Salisbury.
Yes.
If there's a duet, Barry Gibb and Peebo Bryson will find
it. And just to really call it back to Monday's conversation, Jason, Sean, would you agree that even though he's a legend, a Hall of Famer, and everybody acknowledges how great he is, would you agree that weirdly Stevie Wonder's underrated and doesn't get talked about enough?
Highly.
Right?
Yeah.
Have either one of you guys seen him in concert?
No,
No.
I want to.
I have.
Oh my God.
And I'm telling you now, it's that feeling, like when you go to an Elton John concert, every song he sings and he talks stories and stuff, it's like phenomenal because you're like, well, everybody in the audience feels like they're Elton John. Like when you're in your shower, you sing. There's not a song he sings that you haven't sang 4,000 times. I'm going to tell you right now, Stevie sat at that piano and, the stage turns and he was phenomenal because then you start to think about some of his cuts. You're like, oh man. Oh, he's, who Stevie Wonder is? And I'm being sincere. He's like the Hank Aaron singers.
Yeah.
When I ask you to give me the 10 best players of all time, who's always that's right.
Yep.
It's Hank Aaron.
Yep.
I think Hank Aaron's a top 5 player of all time, but you'll go Willie Mays and Babe Ruth and the current Mike Trout, look at Ohtani. Barry Bonds was off the charts. Stan Musial, Joe DiMaggio. Man, remember Mickey Mantle? You'll start Bob Gibson. And then you say, dude, have you looked at the numbers of Hank Aaron and all the race issues he had to go through? Like a lot of people in, African Americans in that era. And I think he's the most underrated player maybe in any sport of all time. And now I think you hit it. Stevie Wonder, I'm like, Stevie Wonder, there's a seat at the executive table for him, right?
Yeah.
In the team picture of all the greats. And if you're just talking like an individual act and entertainment and a showman, I thought Stevie Wonder's concert was off the charts. Yes, I'm a huge fan. Die hard.
That's awesome.
I think I saw something, Jason. I think I saw something, guys, that blew me away. You could go to an Elton John concert and he could play for 2 hours and 34 minutes straight, and every second of that would be a top 40 hit.
That's incredible.
Well, I can tell you, I did at the American Airlines Center, and in between, he's playing light on his piano or talking.
Yeah.
And he's like the storyteller that comes up and sits in front of class, and you're like hanging on every word about why the song came about and what and it's just, but the stories don't, sometimes somebody will get into storytelling, takes too long. He gets it, hits the point, and then boom, he pounds right into, Crocodile Rock, and you're like, top 40, 40. And you're just like, dude. And every single cut he sings, you're like, okay, man. So yeah, you'd be hard pressed to find, he's also in the team picture if you're just talking about great showman, no doubt.
Sean, I know every week when we talk to you about the NFL, you're a huge believer and you think the 49ers could win this whole thing. Just curious, anything you saw last week in their first loss that would give you any reservation to that previous thought?
It's football, and you knew, I don't know if I've said it on here. I know I've said it on my show and others, that they're not going undefeated. We're going into last week. They did not play well. That's obvious. They had a really good plan, and it also, look around the league, guys. We've seen Philadelphia have one of those, right? We've watched the San Francisco 49ers have one. Cowboys have had a couple. What I mean by is where they're not dominant and they look, what's the word I'm thinking of? They look
human, moral.
That's exactly the way to put it. Human, because there's times when you look at that roster, the way that they're assembled, you're like, damn, how does anybody beat them? Especially with the inconsistency. But when you force turnovers and you pressure them and take them out, and Brock Purdy, who I love, but there's 17 of them. That's probably as inconsistent a game on easy throws that I've seen him miss. He missed the one in the end zone. It's like, it almost took me by surprise, but they ran into a team that they protected the ball, they hit him in the mouth, and they got after the quarterback. And those are going to happen. Now, I'm going to tell you what the safest bet. I'm trying. Who do the 49ers play again this week? Why am I losing my mind?
Your Minnesota Vikings, friend.
That's exactly right. And the Vikings, you want to talk about Dow Jones, or their offense will put up 30. They're like, what are you guys doing? I think the safest bet in the league right now, after what you saw the 49ers do last week, I will play this bet this week. 49ers win this game. And the reason why is because that team isn't going to have, I don't think, 2 stinky games back to back. And I would expect the quarterback to come back and play well. But listen, when you don't, when you miss easy throws and those low scoring fist fights, and they ran into one last week, but it's okay, because the longer a season goes when you haven't been beat, and I know we're way early in that. I was having a conversation with a buddy of mine, and the more that it's like when a guy's like gets 5, 6, 7 hits in a row, or there's something that they're doing that's like epic. At some point in time, it's okay to strike out. You haven't struck out in 45 at bats, or to give up a run in 42 in the third innings. it's almost like you start to grip to the point where you're thinking about that, even though they tell you they're not, more than they are how to get to the result, the destination to get to the result with the win. And I think the longer it goes on, the more pressure you feel to, man, we got to preserve this, although they're a long ways away and they weren't going undefeated, but you knew it was going to happen. And they're not exactly a hack team. They're pretty good. So I would expect the 49ers to bounce back. I still, in my mind, believe they're the best team in the NFL and the best team in the NFC, obviously.
We're out of time, Sean. I wanted to ask you, we played it before you came on. Have you seen Foster Moreau's comments from last night yet?
No, I have not.
I'm going to send you the clip. It is simultaneously one of the best handlings of a bad situation and one of the most heart-wrenching, I want to give you a hug so bad moments ever. And next week we'll talk about that, because I know every professional athlete.
Oh my gosh, at some level or another. Yeah. I definitely want to hear that. I'll go check it out too, but send it to me because I always feel for people when they have to go through stuff.
2 minutes of answering every question he was asked.
And it sucks.
Yeah,
it sucks.
And as we added, this is a guy that's was battling lymphoma and understands priorities, and still for him,
I got news for you, brother.
Yeah,
what he's been through.
Yep.
They always get a hall pass.
Yep.
From me.
100%.
Always get a hall pass from me because they know what real life is. No doubt.
Amen. Thank you, Sean. Always great talking to you.
Guys. Enjoyed it.
Thank you. Take care. That is Sean Salisbury. We're late for a break. We're going streaking. We're going to set you up with what to watch tonight. We got celebrity birthdays before Friday, fun and games coming up next.
What's the latest with the San Francisco